Hello and welcome to Dog Day Chess. In this episode we're going to look at another game in its entirety. Now in this game my opponent and I are quite evenly matched. There were no big tactical shots. It seemed like for most of the game we were just fighting for tiny advantages. And what ended up making the difference in the end was the fact that I had a plan and executed a plan and my opponent did not. Now, many books will talk about the importance of having a plan and following through with it. And in fact, they'll go so far as to say that it's better to have a bad plan than no plan at all. And actually, this is one area of chess that I do struggle with, coming up with a plan and making it work. But in this game, it worked out for me, so I'd like to show you how it happened. So I'm playing white, and I start off by playing e4, and I'm going to move quickly through the opening moves. Okay, we exchange, the queen comes out, and I block, and my knight is threatened, so I move my knight to this rather aggressive position on f5, attacking the black queen. And the black queen falls into e5, and I develop my knight. So here black captures my knight for the bishop, and he's giving me the bishop pair. And this pawn at the moment is not under threat from the queen because the queen is pinned to the king. So here black decides to exchange the queens and then develop his knight. Now I move my bishop out here to b5. Now my intent is to lure this knight away from this square. And the reason is that I want to lure the knight away from controlling the d5 square. I want to bring my knight to the d5 square. So here's how that happened. Black blocks the check with his knight. We exchange minor pieces. I'm giving back the bishop pair, but I am luring the knight away from that square, and that allows my knight to take on this more central position, putting pressure on the c7 forking square, the square for forking the king and the rook. So here black castles queenside, and I'm not sure if that's a very good idea because his queenside pawn structure has been weakened, so I think he would have been better off if he had castled kingside. I castle kingside, and black develops his knight, attacking my knight here on d5. So I countered that attack by bringing my bishop, in a sense pinning the knight to the rook, but this was not a very good counter because if we play through and if black were to actually follow through with the exchange, what would happen is black would capture my knight, I would capture the rook and then lose my bishop, and I'd be giving away two minor pieces for a rook. So my counter was not a good move. But fortunately for me, black didn't go through with the exchange. Black made a mistake of his own. He moved his rook out of the pin, and that allowed me to win a pawn, because from here I capture the knight, pawn captures back, and then I capture the pawn with my bishop. Black's rook is under attack, so he moves it to safety and to this open file. Now it's aimed at my king. I do have to be careful about that. So I proceed by bringing my rook out to the e file, contesting the open file. The black's rook had ownership of this file, so I'm contesting that. Again, fighting for tiny advantages here, winning the bishop pair, and contesting the open file. So black moves his bishop off to the side, connecting his rooks. Now they protect each other. Now I begin my plan. I have a kingside pawn majority, 4 pawns against 2. So my plan was to start pushing this pawn majority up in hopes of promoting one. And this is the first step. Now I have to do this carefully because this rook is strong on this open file aimed right at my king. So I have to be quite careful about that. Black's king starts to become centralized, and I continue with my plan, pushing my pawn majority. And the bishop comes out. I thought perhaps he was afraid of it getting trapped. Now I play c4, and the reason I played that is to interfere with black's the black king's journey to the center. I'm cutting off the d5 square with my pawn. Black exchanges the rooks. Now I own the open file, and now black contests that as well. And at this point I decided to exchange the rooks, because I thought that I have a pawn majority on the king side. Black does have a pawn majority on the queen side, but my majority is slightly more advanced. So I was hoping that I would be able to push a pawn through promotion before black could push one of his through promotion. So it seemed like a very slight advantage here that I was counting on. And we'll see how that worked out. The point here is that I did have a plan, and I stuck to the plan. So here I continue my forward push. Black king comes back on his journey to the center, and I continue pushing my pawns together. Black king comes closer to the center, and I continue my advance. Now here black plays d5, and I'm pretty sure the reason for that is to force the exchange of pawns so that the black king can come to the center. Now I had considered pushing my b pawn, but then that would have allowed black to give himself a passed pawn, and an advanced passed pawn at that, which would have been a serious threat for me to have to take care of. So I decided not to do that. Instead, I did exchange off the pawns. And then I proceeded with h6, and the black king came over to e4, attacking the base of my pawn chain. Now I worked out this next movement quite carefully, and the move was g6. And with this move, the way I calculated, there was nothing that black would be able to do to prevent a pawn from promoting. Because if we look at a few different scenarios, if, for example, black responds by having the bishop captures the h-pawn, then I capture the h-pawn there, and there's nothing black can do to stop this pawn from promoting. Reversing. If instead black's king captured the base of my pawn chain, again I would capture the h-pawn and I would promote. What actually happened in the game is we exchanged pawns. The pawn was captured, I captured with that pawn. Now when the h-pawn captures back, now I have an advanced passed pawn. Again, there's nothing black will be able to do to prevent him from promoting. So after a couple of more moves, fortunately my bishop was guarding the diagonal with the promotion square. After exchanging the bishops, I did get my queen, and ultimately I won the game quite easily. So again, this was a question of having a plan and following through with it, and in this case my plan prevailed, and I was quite happy with that. So as always, I hope you learned something from this episode, and thanks for watching.